Hi everyone, from me, Brent Graham of today, Thursday night, 9 o'clock, time for the Handicap rugby chat that matters. Well, there wasn't a lot of rugby on this weekend, and in fact, I've been running through the handicaps here. We'll pull that one off the screen now, but we've got 4 Currie Cup games to talk about, and a man who makes his return to the show after a long layoff, I must tell you, Gavin Cohen, aka the Oracle. Now, Oracle, I must tell you, when you're off the show for an extended period, you'll be amazed how many people actually contact me just to check that you're okay. And I've told them he's fine. He's just taking a bit of a gap from punting, but he's absolutely strong. And when I gave you a shout last night and said, would you like to come on, you agreed to join the party. So welcome, Gav.
Yeah, thanks very much, Brent. Yes, so I told my wife I was on the show tonight. She says, thought you went punting. Said, no, I'm just coming on. But I've enjoyed this Currie Cup so far. I've watched most of the games. I haven't watched all of them. And, I always hear it every single year, the Currie Cup starts and everybody in the office and everyone around the bar, oh, Currie Cup's rubbish, whatever. And it's not about that. I mean, the Currie Cup is it's where the stars are born. And it's still a good competition. I enjoy it. 2011 Lions winning was one of my favorite, but honestly, I enjoy the Currie Cup. It's good rugby. It's South African rugby. I'm happy. I suppose the New Zealanders would say the same thing about their competition. It's completely diluted compared to what it was 10 years ago, and I don't even watch that anymore. I barely watched the Super Rugby this year. I just enjoy Currie Cup. I've always enjoyed it. Love it. One thing I'd like to say, Brent, and you and I discussed it last week. You got Pumas on the left, Sharks on the right, and then it's a Sharks home game. Half the bookmakers don't know about it. Half the media people don't know about it. If these people want the public to engage in their competition, they've got to be a little bit more transparent and tell us what's going on. I mean, that was a complete balls up. And the other thing I'd like to say is, why put 3 games on a Friday? Spread them out. Have a Thursday game, have a Friday game, have a Saturday game, and have a Sunday game. And you know what? People will start watching again.
Yeah, I agree with you that 3 games on a Friday was nonsense. Just to welcome Mark Dumphy into the live chat. I imagine we'll lose a few viewers tonight. But first of all, a lot of our overseas guys actually obviously don't follow the Currie Cup. And secondly, we've got the Blitzbox in action, I think, in a few minutes. But Mark from Ireland saying, evening all. He's a big fan of the Oracle. Great to see you back. And he's busy watching New Zealand box. Now, I know Oracle's also keeping his eye on that game. But Mark, appreciate the odds update there. Although I haven't watched any sevens yet, but it sounds as though the Blitzbox really scraped their way into the quarterfinals there after losing to both New Zealand and Ireland in the group stages. But
I walked into the office this morning and I said, how has South Africa still got a price to win the tournament? I didn't understand the format. So what they've done is they've got 3 groups. So obviously 6, the top 2 teams go to the quarterfinals, and the 2 best third place. So they've effectively eliminated 4 teams yesterday. That's all they did.
Yeah, it's very similar to that, that under-20 World Championships one as well.
Yes.
And what you get, the thing is when you have that sort of format, what you get is strange scenarios where you play, like we play New Zealand, who we also played in the group stages. We played them in the quarterfinals, which is unusual. Normally you would expect to sort of go through and play other teams. So it is quite tough. Johan Esthuizen reckons Fiji to win the sevens. I haven't seen anything.
I agree with you 100%. Yeah, that's the winner. He's got it. And
I know the anti-post favourite was actually France at around about.
France are lucky to be in this quarterfinal. And he lost to Uruguay yesterday, and they battled against the USA. So, yeah.
Cool, man. Well, anyway, Gav, let's get on to what I would call, so far personally, a very unpredictable Currie Cup. As a Taverna there as well. Griffins against the Cheetahs. Now, these sides met in week 1 in Bloemfontein. Cheetahs absolutely hammering them. I think it was something like a 62-point winning margin. Griffins have disappointed in all of their matches so far. The Bulls beat them by 42. An understrength Western Province side also beat the Handicap quite comfortably against them. We got 47.5 here, Gav. I ran through these very quickly with you before the show. And when I got to this, when I put this one up, you just said, not high enough.
I'm going to suggest there might be a digit missing here, Brent. I'm not even joking. This game could go to 100. And you'll remember when we had 14-team Currie Cup in the early 2000s. I remember going to the Shark Stadium in Durban, where I was living at the time, and literally sitting on one side of the field to watch the tries, and at halftime going to the other side of the field to watch the tries when the Falcons and the Griffins were coming to Durban, these kind of teams. And honestly, this team won't win a game. They obviously haven't come close yet. They definitely won't win a game. And unfortunately, this game could get very close to 100 points. 47 is nowhere near what this result is going to be. This is a bad price. This is a mistake. The bookmakers could actually go to the gambling board and argue that they've got a mistake here, because this is a mistake. This is way too low. Way too low. Minimum here, seriously, absolute minimum. Mediocre Cheetahs team will win this game by 65.
I'm not going to argue with you on that, but quite interesting that World Sports Betting generally priced the Currie Cup up quite early, and it actually opened at 48.5, which tells me either that there's been a bit of money for the Griffins, which would surprise me. Even the parents and that probably won't back them. But I think it might just be no interest in the game, and the bookies trying to say, maybe if we bring the handicap down a bit, we can entice some bets. What do you think there?
I think that 500 Rand will probably move that handicap by 3 points. So, yes, I'm going to agree that there's not a lot of money on this game. I think people are waiting to see, but there's really nothing to wait and see. This is way too low. Honestly, this is wrong. It's wrong. It's a mistake. I don't have any other English words to describe how I feel when I see 47 when it should be, I'm not joking, it should be 77, 87. 47's wrong. Too low.
Well, Gavin will be having a look at the alternative caps. Just to talk about the team's form, we've touched on the Griffins. Cheetahs, of course, going away to the Bulls last week. Actually favourites. One of the two Currie Cup games I got right last week. The Bulls beating them there at Loftus. So Cheetahs will be quite keen for the bounce back. As I say, I don't like punting these high handicaps, but I tend to side with Gavin there. I think the 47.5. Yeah, put it this way. If I had to have a bet on this game, I'm rather going minus 47.5 than plus. Because, I have a feeling you'll be sweating the whole game if you go the plus. So
just to go back to last week's game, Brent, I actually went with the Cheetahs, and watching that game, I got the feeling that they thought they'd show up at Loftus and win the game, because they're the informed team in this competition. They're likely to be the winners if teams stay the same and they don't get loaded with Springboks. Cheetahs should win this tournament. And last week was a bit of arrogance, and the Bulls took their chances and won the game. I wasn't impressed with either side. In fact, I felt the Cheetahs would just show up and win team, and they didn't get it right. And when it got, when they were just a few points off, or when it was really close with 20 odd minutes to go, they went to sleep. I don't know. So I wasn't impressed with the Cheetahs last week. And often what we've seen in these kind of competitions, a team loses a game that they should have won or thought they should have won, and they come back properly. This is way too low. It's not even in the ballpark of what it should be.
We're expecting them to come back. Just to mention, apologies if there's background noise on my side. I've got my generator running. We've had no power for the last 6.5 hours or so. Not load shedding, just a jolly a fault somewhere. Gav, the next game is an interesting one. These sides also met, of course, in week 1 of the season. The Sharks had a kick to win that match with a late try. They didn't get the kick, so the Lions won by 1. Lions have subsequently come out and beaten the Pumas very big in Nelspruit. Battled a bit. I thought they were pretty poor last week against the Griquas in Joburg. And the Sharks, well, they've been absolutely horrendous. And I can tell you the line has moved here from minus 8.5, which is very much where I capped it, to 12.5. And having a look at the Sharks team, I think it's on the back of that. It looks like the Sharks are blooding quite a few youngsters this weekend.
I might sound like a stuck record here, Brent, but this one's also nowhere near what it should be. This should be 25, 28. The Lions, I agree, they had a tough game against the Griquas, but the Griquas actually had a good game. They played well, so I suppose, they played better than I expected them to, but I didn't feel the Lions played any less than they did. And I know people will tell me I'm a Lions supporter and I'm being biased here, but I watched that first game against the Sharks. They did what they needed to do to win, but the Sharks have gone downhill since then and the Lions haven't. The Lions have improved or at worst flattened out. The Sharks have got far worse than they were against that first game against the Lions. I'm expecting a 20-plus result here, 25 to 30-point Lions win. I think this is also way too low.
Yeah, I must admit, I quite fancy this minus handicap as well, especially, as I say, having looked at that Sharks team. I do think that the Lions will take this one. Unfortunately, guys, no total points tonight to talk about. We haven't got points lines on any other game. I did have a quick look around. I don't think anyone's got them up for the Griffins against the Cheetahs there. So we'll stick to the handicaps, Gav, and move on to the next one. Bulls against Western Province. Bulls minus 8.5. Now, they started about minus 5.5 when they played in Cape Town. Minus 5.5, 6.5, if I recall, and they won by 5 points. Western Province coming back, I think it was 30-25. The Bulls had a good win last week against the Cheetahs. They're firm favourites here against the Western Province side that comfortably beat the handicap against the Griffins last week, but we have to stress it was the Griffins. But other than that, have looked rather disappointing. They were beaten by the Cheetahs in Bloemfontein. And the question on my lips here is minus 8.5 enough?
I'm trying to work out of the 3 games we've discussed now, which one's worse. The Cheetahs is definitely the worst one. But I'm also, this is a 15 to 20 point win. This Western Province team has been, I'm going to use the word rubbish. They've been rubbish. And the Bulls winning that game last week against the Cheetahs are going to come into this match with a lot more confidence. Lack of a better English word. They're going to come in with a lot of confidence here. And I was impressed with the Bulls. They took on that Cheetahs team, as I said, was probably a little bit arrogant. They did what they needed to do. They won the game. They didn't get into any trouble in that match either. So actually, you could even argue that they were better than the Cheetahs all round. And this Western Province team the Western Province won't make the semi-finals in this competition.
Yeah,
so I'm living in Cape Town. I'm not seeing a Currie Cup semi-final or final. It's not happening in Cape Town.
Okay, geez, I've got a WhatsApp from Mark Dumpy here because he can't comment. This has happened to him about 3 weeks in a row on the show, Gavin. He's got a strike. Evidently, the administrators, which would be me, has said he said his comments are, I don't know, offensive or something, and he can't even get onto the channel. So I have no idea what it is. I'll have to, Mark, if you are still watching, I'm not even sure if you can watch. I'll have to find out about that. It's very, very.
YouTube on him. He's obviously commenting on other YouTube channels, saying things that people shouldn't be saying. So yeah, there we go. Is that 14-0, Dylan?
To South Africa.
Wow. South Africa winning 14-0. That's unbelievable. I think they were 28 to 10 in this game.
Imagine we won gold, Gav, the way we started this tournament. It would be bizarre. What price were we this morning when you said you saw?
I think they were around 50 to 1. And I think they were 12 to 1 or 10 to 1 before the first game. Something like that, 10 or 14 to 1.
Anyway, we all know it's a long way to go. Peter Paul's already messaged 14-5 while we've been speaking there. So a long way to go on that one. Guys, back to the Bulls game. Our handicap this game 12.5. I definitely see the value there at 8.5. And I do think the Bulls will win this one fairly comfortably in the end. Which takes us already to our final game of the show because, of course, we just got the 4 games this week. Minus 11.5, the Pumas against the Griquas. I think I capped this a little bit lower at about 9.5. But like I've said to you before, Gab, Currie Cup handicapping, you I don't know. It's very much a bit of a quick gut feel, and there's not much science goes into it for me at the moment. But this handicap has, I think, been fairly stable all week. And I know some guys who are on the Griquas plus, but I also know plenty who like the minus.
I like the minus here, Brent. I'm not going to suggest it's wrong. It's probably right. If anything, it's maybe a couple of points too low, like, maybe a 12 or 13, but nothing like a 20 or 25 like in the other games. This game should be close. We've seen lots of Puma, Griqua tussles in Nelspruit. I'm hoping this game's in Nelspruit the way we're talking, because we really don't know. I know that the Pumas and Sharks next game, which Sharks is supposed to be the home team, it's switched around. I think it's next week or the week after will be in Nelspruit. But yeah, I like the Pumas here. Out of the 4 games, this is the hardest one to talk about on the handicap level. Pumas will win the game. whether they'll win by more than 11.5 is, this is the toughest. This is the one unit game, and the Griffins game is the 5-unit game for me.
Yeah,
it's minus or no bet here, but honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this was 10, 11, 12, 13 in the end. Who knows? Could be close.
Well, Tika Wenger came on and just said he loved the thumbnail, so I thought I quickly went and brought that up here, Gav. You probably wouldn't have seen the thumbnail.
Rubbish first, rubbish.
There we go.
That's right.
Yes. There's only one guy who made that saying famous.
I'll tell you what, Brent. I remember, Brent, when I first made that, I spoke about the Bulls and the Cheetahs in 2016 or 2017. I can't remember when it was. The flood of WhatsApp messages I got from my mates that were Bulls supporters, they were so angry with me. And I said to them, be real. You've got to sit down and you've got to look at what's happening, because at the time they were the worst teams playing. And, I got my share of abuse in 2010, and the Lions didn't win a single game. But in fact, they won 80% of their handicaps, but didn't win a single game. I actually made money that year, but they didn't win. So listen, this is not rubbish versus rubbish. The Griquas are the rubbish here. There's a rubbish in each one of these fixtures. They aren't playing each other. Honestly, I think the semi-finals are the 4 home teams here. Sorry, not 4 home teams. I'm excluding the Griffins. Cheetahs, Bulls, Lions, and Pumas. Those are the semi-finalists this year. And I'm of the opinion it'll be a Cheetahs-Lions final or a Cheetahs-Bulls final.
Right, yeah, I won't argue with you on that one. And Gav, if you had to sum up your best bet, I know you said it was difficult to choose. You said which one?
No, it's Cheetahs, it's Cheetahs. And I'll tell you what I would even suggest here is I would suggest a treble of 2-to-1s. So take the 2-to-1 on the alternative handicap wherever you bet. 2-to-1 the Cheetahs minus, 2-to-1 the Bulls minus, 2-to-1 the Lions minus. And that'll give you between 25-to-1 and 33-to-1, depending on where what handicap you take and where you bet. That's the bet for me. All those 3 are way too low. And if you've got a little bit of money left over, stick some of your profit onto the Pumas minus here. But I wouldn't go big on the Pumas game. The other 3 for me are standouts. There's a proper treble here. Don't take the 7-to-1, 9-to-10 treble. Go for a 2-to-1 treble and really have a proper go.
Right.
Is that 14 all now?
Is it 14 all now?
No, we scored again. He dropped the ball. Sorry.
Is it?
I'm on streaming, so I'm behind. I'm at least a minute behind.
Oh, you're a bit behind. Okay. So, Gav, anything else then on the weekend to catch your eye besides obviously we got the Currie Cup, but what else you could maybe looking forward to watching or anything like that on the weekend?
Well, definitely the Olympics. Brent, I enjoy the swimming. A couple of things I'm going to look out for is the sailing. I'm a keen sailor. That canoeing, kayaking that they go through the man-made rapids. I'm very interested to watch that. The field events, the athletics start next week. And somebody said to me, why did the rugby start before the opening ceremony, which is tomorrow? Because it's on the same track, same field, same stadium, sorry. You'll see, if you look at the stadium now, you'll see the purple stuff around. That's the running track and the track and field events. The rugby finishes on Tuesday night. Gold. Yeah. Tuesday night's the gold medal women. Tomorrow's the gold medal. Sorry, not tomorrow. Saturday's the gold medal men rugby. And then it goes to athletics. I do believe, and I found this quite funny. I was reading an article about they're using the Seine, the river in Paris, to do quite a lot of events, including an open water swim. And apparently it's been illegal to swim there for 100 years. And the mayor jumped in to show everybody that it was safe and that they'd cleaned it up. But what he didn't know is there was a synchronized shit where everybody went and crapped in their toilet at the same time and flushed it to try and prove the mayor wrong. So quite a lot going on in Paris at the moment. The locals are pretty irritated. They couldn't cross the river at all sorts of different points. But yes, I'm excited about the Olympics. I enjoy the Olympics. I've always enjoyed it. So there's lots to watch. But from a betting perspective, no, just these Currie Cup games. Nothing else that catches my eye. But I will tell you, you've got to look out for this. This is very important. And I'm going to share a quick story in the year 2000 in Sydney. So those track and field events that were happening at night were obviously in the morning for us because, they're 8 hours ahead or around lunchtime. Anyway, so I'm watching the 200 meters and I watched the semi-final, and it's this Greek guy. And it's quite, you can't miss it because he's the only white oak in the race. So there's, 7 black guys and this white Greek guy racing. And I watch his semi-final, and he turns at the 100-meter mark, and he's in 4th place. And he overtakes the other 3, and he wins the semi-final. So I remember phoning up Bet Exchange at the time, and I said to them, geez, what's the Sykes price for the final? I reckon he's 8-1. I said, okay, I'll take 1,000 to 120. So a small bet. Anyway, the final rolls around, and this guy rolls his oak. Same story. Comes around the bend. He's 4th. He rolls them. And apparently a few months later, he got done for drunks, which doesn't surprise me. Anyway, the other event that I made a little bit of money in 2000 was the women's long jump. So there's this German chick who hasn't been in the Olympics since 1992. And she's like, I see her jump her first and second jump, and she looks okay. And I phone up again, Bet Exchange at the time. What's this chick's price? 12-1. All right, I'll have 1,080. She goes and smashes these people. She hasn't been in the Olympics for 12 years. So where I'm going with this is watch the heats and watch the semifinals, because when the gold medal betting comes out, I mean, I know it's out at the moment, but they're betting at 130, 140, 150%. So there's no value now. But if you're keen on this, I promise you, bookmakers don't have time to make prices on these races and these swimming events properly. They don't have time because something happens in that semi-final and those heats. They don't see everything. It's algorithms. It's these young Zoomers, the Gen Z people in Europe somewhere making these prices. You can beat them. Do a little bit of homework. Watch the heats. Watch the events. These kind of events roll around as we know every 4 years. I know there's Commonwealth Games as well, but there's so much opportunity here if you just look for it. It really is. And I'm of the opinion you wake up in the morning, pick your 2 or 3 events you want to concentrate on, and go for it. You won't make money if you try and bet on every event, but if you pick a couple that you can read and that you understand what's actually going on, in front of your eyes, you can make money here, no doubt.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's good. I mean, and it is. I'm never going to be a big punter in the Olympics, but it definitely, you find your events you enjoy and watch those heats and that sort of stuff. You might just be able to get an edge over the bookmaker. I've got a good mate he's not much of a punting guy, but he's telling me all his fancies already. And of course, I go straight away and look at the prices. And yeah, really looking forward to things there. But Gav, thanks very much, man. It's been great to have you back on the show. I think a lot of guys pleased to see your faces again. If anyone else ever gets a strike on YouTube or anything for commenting on the show, please let me know. I know Mark, we're having big problems with him getting him banned, and it's definitely not me doing it. I mean, his comments are hardly. He said maybe the one time he said something about Ireland, he thought maybe I didn't like it, but I said no, not at all. So I'm not too sure why he's not on. But Gav, it's been great chatting with you. Good to have you back on the show, and to the boys who did join us and watch the Blitzbox at the same time, thanks very much. Shot, Gav.
I'll keep coming back, Brent, for the Currie Cup. I'm happy to do the Currie Cup shows, but as long as I'm getting it right. So let's see how many out of 4 I get this week. I'm expecting to get 4 out of 4. Sorry, I'm expecting to get 3 out of 4. The Pumas game is the tough one. I'd like to say I'd get 4 out of 4, but I'm expecting the first 3 definitely.
Right.
And there you go. So there's Johan calling a 11-2 treble. I'm going to say, Johan, take that bet. That can be your main bet. Take a small 50 or 100 and go for the 25-1, 2-1, all 3.
And Gav, can you give me a score on the rugby? I know you're streaming a bit behind, but what's the score at the moment?
It's 14-7 with 1 minute left. South Africa.
Come on, South Africa. That would be great if we could progress there. Excellent, Gav. Thanks very much, man. Cheers, everyone. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next week.
Yes.
There's, of course, I think we've got another quiet week next week, now that I think about it. And then we've got rugby championships that get cracking after that, which will be good. Thank you, Peter Paul, for that score. Cheers, everyone. See you next week, Thursday night.